everybody, it's Angela. Welcome back to my channel today. It's a beautiful sunny day, early morning here. I hope you're all enjoying a wonderful weekend. Today I thought I would bring you a quick tutorial, hopefully, on how I put together these covers for the ones I used for my friendship journal. I've had a couple of people ask me how I did that, so I thought it would be a nice an easy tutorial for you all to follow so that you could perhaps use them yourselves. I'm really liking this type of travel notebook situation that I've got going on here, and it's really nice to use even in journals because it gives you the option to chop and change and do various things. So I'm going to show you how I made this. This is an upcycled piece, and I'm sure that you will have all the things around that you would, maybe not the elastic, but I'm sure you've got elastic, that you would need to put this together. So let's go and talk about that quickly. Right, so just a few things that you're going to need. First of all, some fabric. The fabric I have chosen to use is a light linen, well, no, a medium weight linen really, and I'm going to use this today. The size of the piece that I'm going to use, if you're making a standard A5 journal, which is 6.5 by 8 3/4 type thing, finished, the piece that you're going to need is 26 centimeters by 38 centimeters. All right, we are going to trim a little bit off that, but that's my starting size. Obviously it depends on the size of journal that you're making, so that's the first thing. I would suggest not to use a very lightweight cotton, because when you glue, you might, if you're not very careful with how you put on your glue, you could result in having the glue show through the fabric when it dries. So that's why I've used this sort of medium weight linen, or upholstery fabric is really good for that as well. The other thing I use on the inside is this medium weight canvas, the same size as the fabric. So that's what I put on the inside as well. All right, so that's what we're going to use there. You can have other bits and pieces. I'm giving you the basics today, and then I will give you some ideas of what you could do if you want them for the inside. Right, so that's the first thing. The other thing, and what I used for the actual base, the card, is one of these Amazon, the C1, I see it's called, that you get your books in. So that's what I've used for all of mine. It's like a corrugated board, and this works really well for what I'm going to use this for. So go and find one of these. I had quite a few of these, and I've saved them. And this is what I'm using for the base. All right, so let's just start here quickly. And the first thing you want to do is you want to take off these side panels. Don't worry if you tear a bit, we're going to... So just do try and be a bit careful. All right, don't worry about how it looks. Use your scissors if you need to cut off any bits. So take off those pieces there. And then this piece at the back, you need to take that off as well. So take that off there. And I would suggest that you take off any other labels if you want. If your fabric is thick enough, which mine is, I'm not going to see that through there. But if your fabric is thinner, you might want to consider pulling those off as well. All right, so here we are. I've pulled off all the yellow bits because that's really bright, or any dark black bits. I'm going to use this side because, as I said, my fabric's not going to allow that to shine through on either weight, I don't think. But usually, because I know that my canvas is really a decent thickness, I usually put anything like this on the inside. All right, so that's my suggestion to you. So this is what we have at the moment. we've just got our plain board, and now what we want to do is we want to measure up the size to cut off and have our basic template for underneath. So what I've worked out is that we need 24 centimeters this way. So 24 centimeters is 9.5 inches this way. So you want to, this way is going to be 24 or 9.5 inches. So that's what we want to do there. So mark that up quickly. And this is where you can look at where your neatest ends are. Okay. So that's 24. Doing this without my glasses, so that's brave. And then we just want to draw a line there. And then we want to trim that off. So let's do that quickly. And I didn't bring my craft knife down, so I'm just going to use what I have here. But if you've got a craft knife, use it. You know, I prefer a craft knife myself. I wouldn't put this through the paper trimmer, that I will say. Okay, so we've got our width correct now. So what we need to do now, thank you Abby, is measure 38 centimeters. So this way is 38 centimeters, 15 inches that way. So right, so let's just measure that up. So here's the 30 mark. And there's that. So I'm gonna take it off over here. And with the corrugated lines, it's easy to see if you're going straight or not. So that's a help. Okay, so let's do that. Abby, hang on a minute. All right, so okay, so there's our piece. Now what I did with that was I decided to find out straight away where the middle was. Let's just cut that bit off there. So just meet up your sides like that, yeah, and then just press it down and just make sure that you've got the center here like that. Okay, what have I done there? Oh, that's nothing, we can sort that out. Right, so there we go. That's the few little raggedy bits here which I just want to trim off. Okay, so there we go. That's our base for what we're going to use, and this works really well. So I was thrilled when I tried the first one and this worked out nicely. I thought, oh, I've got a use for all of those now. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to start gluing. Now the glue that I've used is Mod Podge. I ran out of PVA, and PVA does make this a bit wet, so I've quite resorted to using Mod Podge. So you want some Mod Podge and a bit of a brush. So this is just the brush I use for gluing. All right, so we're going to start with the base, the front fabric. And what I did here was this is going to be my front, so you want to go and put some glue, or the Mod Podge stuff, which is a bit glue, all over here. Don't do it too thick. You want to have a thickness that it must be fairly thin, otherwise, like I say, it's going to show through. So I will fast forward this, give this a good coverage, make sure you get to your spine here in the middle, go right to the edges, and don't take too long about it either, because you don't want it to dry. So make sure that you cover everywhere, and I'll see you on the other side. All right, so we have that all glued nicely, and now what we want to do is just put that aside for a bit, is lay down your piece of fabric, make sure it is as smooth as you can get it. Don't worry about the edges, we'll come back to that, as long as they're roughly how you want them. You know, fairly straight is all right. We just want to now take this bit that we have here, and we want to turn it over and smooth, make sure before you plonk it down that it's as central as possible. So I'm just measuring up as best I can, like that, and then I'm going to just smooth this over like that. Okay, and then as soon as you've got that more or less down, turn it over and then smooth that out as much as you can. It's a really pretty fabric, this. It's called Voyager. Alright, so there we go. You can use your bone folder if you want. You can use your hands. I'm partial to using my hands mostly, but bone folders are really great. Alright, so there we have the first bit down. Alright, so now what we want to do is, we'll just put that aside quickly over here. And we've got your canvas that you're going to put on the inside. Now, before you glue the canvas down, you might want to make an internal pocket or something there. And you might want to sew that to the canvas. If you're wanting to do anything that requires sewing, do it before you glue the canvas on. I mean, that's just thought I'd mention that, because, you know, if you've never done this kind of thing before, it's something you need to be aware of. You don't have to. In hindsight, what I have done is make a separate pocket, and then I have stitched where I wanted to and added bits to that, and then I have glued it to this. So you could do that as well. I thought I'd just mention that before we stuck this down. All right, we're going to stick this bit down now. So we're going to take this over. Now, it doesn't, if you've got one-way fabric, then just make sure, for example, that would be the front. If you had one-way fabric on the inside as well, then make sure that the two match up. So that's just another watch point. This is one way here, but obviously the canvas isn't, so that doesn't matter. Right, so now what we're going to do is exactly the same. We're going to put some glue all over this area here. And then we're going to stick the canvas down. So same process, not too thick. Okay, here we go. Now don't worry about getting a little bit of glue onto this actual fabric here. I'm going to show you what's going to happen about that in a little bit. So again, what we want to do now is take our fabric and match it up as best we can. These should be the same size, so it's just before you press it down, just make sure you've matched up the best you can for the most part. She says, and it is a struggle sometimes. Just depends if I've got the angle right or not. And then you can pull it up. So just do the best you can. I think I need to change it over. Is that what it is? Maybe it's this way. Because I did pair them up when I cut them. Oh, that's better. There we go. Okay. A little bit too over. I'll get there in the end, but it just shows you it's not always straightforward, but we get there in the end. Okay, like that. Okay, so we're going to just make sure that we have that nicely down. Use your bone folder. You could use Fabri-Tac for this if you don't have Mod Podge or the Beacon 3-in-1. That also works well. You know, so just see how you go. If you have a little bit, like I've got a little bit over here, that's not quite sticking, then don't be afraid just to take your glue again and just go over that section. You know, we are going to stitch this, so it's not a crisis. Okay, so just put that down again like that. Okay, and then what I would do is I would leave this to dry for a bit. So give it a good hour or to dry. And then what we will do is we will do the stitching. Okay, so we're back again here now, and what we need to do is we want to just trim around and match up these fabrics at the top so that there's the same height at this point. So what I've done is I've left one side here just to show you. What I do is I take my bone folder and I just have a look, and I can feel the ridge of that corrugated board here, and very lightly I just make a little line at the end of my board to see where the fabric ends, and then I can see over here that I'm not going to be going skew. And then what I do is I just take my scissors. You can take your scissors and eyeball it if you've got a good eye with that, or you can take your pencil and your ruler and just look where the end of that might be. So here is the end here, and that is about a centimeter, and then on here we want to have a centimeter. So here with me I've got to follow this canvas line over there, and that's going to give me a straight edge. So just going to do that quickly, and don't worry about the fringing, because the nice thing about this is that it does give a nice tatty finish. So you know, it'll fray a bit, but we're going to stitch, so that will limit the amount of fraying that it can do. All right, so there we've got our edge there. I've done the others already, so we have that all nice and trimmed, and here's an example of it fraying, but I quite like that look. And it will go to a point and then won't be able to do it anymore, so I wouldn't worry about that. Okay, so this is all ready now to stitch. Now, what I did was, because we've got our nice straight lines now, and that's why I cut it before, it gives me a sort of a marker point to make sure that I stitch this straight. So I'm just going to stitch about 2 mils in from the edge of the corrugated board, and just check with your sewing machine. Mine doesn't mind this. It's not an overly thick corrugated board, but just do a little test patch with a piece of board and 2 pieces of fabric that you're using to make sure your machine isn't going to take strain. Otherwise, you might just need to glue the bits together, and that will be that. So mine doesn't mind it. It's not overly thick. If you just go slowly, and you know, just be mindful of that. So yeah, I'm going to just catch the inside of the board over here. All right, so I'll be back and show you what it looks like. Okay, I'm back. So here you can see how far I've sort of sewn. It's about 1 centimeter or about 1/3 of an inch round, all the way around. Okay, so just a straight stitch. And then on this side, you can see it as well. Okay, so that's the basis of what we've done now. Now, before we go any further and do anything else, if you're wanting to put a plaque on the front here or something, before you start, do it at this point, I would say, because this is when this is lying nice and flat. And then you can get on with the rest of the things. You can put it on at the end, but because this does bend a bit, you have a bit of a struggle. But do put it on at least, even after these, before you put this bit in. So I would say do it when you can get this all flat. All right, so I will get to that after we've done this little bit over here. Now, to do this bit over here, we need to ascertain, it's a little bit of fiddling, but what we need to do is ascertain where it needs to go. So you'd need to have one of your book pages to do that. So I'm just going to take one of the ones I have here. All right, so here we have the page over here, and what we need to do is we need to turn that over to the side we're going to work on. Now, remember, I did say to you that we have found out where our middle is, so just do that again, match up your corners and use your bone folder and just ascertain that, because that's going to be important now when we need to place our actual pages and find what we need to do. Now with our middle over there, you can see it looks like we've got a lot of space, but remember that's going to move over because this forms part of our spine as well. So what we want to do is we want to ascertain where our page is going to fit here. Now I've made mine wide enough to cover all the bits that stick out at the top, the bottom, the sides, and everywhere else, because I don't want any of that to get ruined. So what I do here is I can now see this is my middle line, and what I did was, if you have a look over here, you can see that I've got just about 1.25 centimeters, so 1/2 inch in between these two holes. All right, now as you can see here as well, you want these holes for your elastics to be just slightly higher than your page on both sides. You don't want it to cut into your pages. That's why I put the masking tape on, just to protect them, but I have made these holes slightly higher than the pages on each side. All right, so let's put that back over there. The easiest way to do it would be like this, really. So that's 19, that is the middle of 38. There's the middle there. Move it up a bit. 19. So now it's 1 centimeter either side of that. So there we go. We've got the one there, one there. There we go. My 19 is over here. And I want 1 centimeter there and 1 centimeter there. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to make them bigger so I know where they are. Okay, right, so sorry about all of that. Okay, so let's then take a double check before we make that. That should be just above there, and that should be over there, and which that's it is. So what we do now is, and I usually use my bigger crocodile, so I'm going to try and do it with this. Take one of these crocodile things and punch your hole. So we get it in the middle there, and we're going to go straight through. Okay, cut off the little bits that come out, and then do it on the other side as well. There we go. And it does go through it pretty easily. Okay, so you've got your 2 holes there. And then what we want to do is just choose some of these eyelets. I tell you, there's no piece today. Okay, so I've got 4 silver eyelets there, and then we're going to put them in this way. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to take this side and we want to grip that in place like that, and then the same over here. So we've got both of those set nicely in there. So there we go. I'm happy with that. And then we want to do the same on this side. Right, so that's all done. These will come off for a while, but as I said, it can only go so far because of the stitching. I like pulling them off. Okay, I won't do that now. Right, so that's our front. We've got our goodies in. Then what we would do is I would do my front, because once I put the elastics in, if you're not going to put your pages in straight away, it does sort of bow the cover. So what I did here was, I'm calling all of mine friends because they are all friendship journal entries. You can do whatever you want. If you didn't want to do anything, or you want to do a lot more on the cover, go right ahead. So I didn't put this in before. I have been putting them on after. Just opening these up. I did try put them on without the little thingies, these things, but it doesn't look right. It looks unfinished. So what I did was I've done that, and then I generally bend them so that they sort of don't stick out. And then I'm gonna use my Beacon 3-in-1, which is actually Fabri-Tac in here, same thing really. Okay, and I am going to glue down this to here. So what I did was I put a little bit of glue on the edge, and I also get these in place because it works well with metal as well. Right, and then what I do is everything's sticking. We just line up where we want that, and we don't want that to stick out either. So that's that. And then we can now put the glue on this like that, all the way around. Like that, and then place this where you want to do it, where you want to put it. So for me, I think I'm going to put it pretty much here. Okay, so press that down and allow that to dry for a bit. Okay, so it doesn't take very long with this 3-in-1 beacon. Right, now we've stitched around the edges here. Now what we need to do while I'm waiting for this to dry is you'll see that you have this opening here between the 2 sections, and if you look there you see the cardboard, which I don't like to personally see. So what I have done is I have, while we're waiting for this to dry so we can do the last phase, take your Fabri-Tac, which is perfect for this, and make a thin bead of glue just close to the edge like I'm doing here, just a thin bead of glue, because you just want to sandwich these 2 together, because I don't personally want to see the cardboard. So just run that through there like that. Okay, and then just do that all the way around while you're waiting, and then that will sort all of that out. So that's easily done. Okay, so just press it together nicely. Again, it's another reason not to use fabric that's too thin. Like that. There we go. We just want to get those two together like that. And then the last little section, like that. Okay, so everything is sorted. We're happy with that now. Okay, so if you go back to the first one that we glued, you can see now that that is stuck down and you can't see the cardboard. All right, because it's glued down, so you don't want to see that. It's just like a nice little finishing touch for that. Okay, so we've got everything done there. We've got this, it's stuck down. All that remains to be done now is to put in our elastic. So the elastic that I've used came on a roll like this. You get many colors. I like pink. This is a 2mm elastic, I think. Yeah. Don't get, I didn't want a thinner or thicker one. 2mm was fine for me. And now what you need to do is, if I show you on my other one here, I've put 3 of these per one, per eyelet. Okay, so I've put, now it's not just a case of threading it through. You need to be able to have it pulling slightly, just so that it's going to hold the page in place, but not overly tight, because then it's going to bow the whole thing and cut into the page. So there's a sort of a balance, and it's trial and error. I go and I start from the inside. So what I do is here, I don't really have a measurement, but I start from the inside and I go through there, and I do that a few times, 3 to be precise. So there's 2 strings like that. Just hang on to the bottom one, and then I do one more. Okay, like that. And then I just pull it a bit. And then before I knot it, I'm holding it there, I can feel, now that's still a bit loose, a bit slack. So I pull it more. Quite hard, and then I'll even it up at the end. So what I'm going to do here is, that's the 3 there. So now what I do is I just even them out overall. But what you can see, it's got a slight bowing that it's starting to do. But what I will do is I'm going to undo this quickly and try and measure this for you. No, I'm not. Okay, so when you've got a slight bow like that, and you can see, then you know that that's pretty all right. Okay, I just want that bit in the middle, and you can move it around. It's easy to work with. All right, so there we've got that side done, just like that. And now it's just a case of doing the that piece ain't going to be long enough, so I'll have to start a new one. Again, we're going to start from the inside, go through like that, and the other side there. Get it through here. And one more. like that. Make sure you've got 3 here. So there's 1, 2, and 1 more. Okay, pull it a little bit. Oh, the neighbor's playing the trumpet badly. Okay, so that one looks all right. So I'm going to cut that right over there. Oops. Okay. Okay, so there we go. We've got that there. So now I'd just like to, you can tie things on here if you wanted to, but it's not as easy. You could put tabs on the end of that as well. That would be easier. All right, so we've got our 2 sides now, and I'm quite happy. You can see it's bowing slightly, and that's all right. Okay, you want it to have a little bit of elasticity. It's just a case of evening them out then, and they do that pretty easily. Okay, so there we have all of that done. So now it's just a case of putting in your pages. All right, so there's our central bit. When you bend that over like that, you'll have 1 on that side and 1 on that side. You won't really, because like this, it makes its own spine. All right, so once you've filled that all in, it'll look exactly like the other one over here. All right, and then all that's left to do is put a bow on it. So this one has this bow, and this one here, I have got some sari silk that I've just ironed, and I would put a bow to pick up all these beautiful mauve colors that are in here. So I think that's going to look really lovely on that one, don't you think? All right, so there we have it. There's our friendship cover. I hope that you enjoyed watching that. For me, this just annoys me. I've got to have this straight. I was thinking earlier when I was ironing this, all the little bits that I have and all these things, I keep them all. No wonder my mum thinks I'm a hoarder. Okay, right, so ladies, that's how I did it. I hope that has been helpful and that you can use this somewhere in your own projects. And I love to see, if you do give it a go, what it turns out like. So go and have a look. Keep all those Amazon book packaging bits that are sent to you. I know we all have them, and go and recycle them and make something beautiful out of it. All right, so have a lovely weekend now. I look forward to seeing you all soon. I hope to have another exciting envelope tutorial still very soon, and that'll be our next video. So keep well, and thank you for your support and encouragement, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye bye.